Hey, what's going on, Scott?
Not much. Sorry, I was trying to join from my laptop, but I guess that's not going to work. So here we go.
Yeah, I should have probably clarified that. Sorry, I'm getting a little bit of feedback. Give me one sec. Yeah, so I should have clarified that. Twitter Spaces still needs a lot of work, and a lot of improvements need to be made to get to where I hope it arrives one day. But Scott, we're here to talk about you, and we're here to talk about Coinbase Advanced Trade. And before we get started, do you want to give our audience a quick intro into you, your origin story, your career trajectory, and then how you ultimately made that jump into Web3?
Yeah, I'll try to keep it short. At a high level, I've been at Coinbase for coming up on 4 years and have led different product management teams, developing all different parts of the Coinbase app and website since I joined. Most recently, I've spent the last couple of years working very intensely on trading. So we'll talk a lot about that today. Before Coinbase, I spent about a decade working in product management, product marketing at Google and Facebook, focusing on marketing products for advertisers, big and small. Things like retargeting ads was something that I worked on early on, that a lot of people have become familiar with. And then I spent some time working on analytics and advertising measurement there too. And kind of during that time in quote unquote big tech, that's kind of where I fell down the crypto rabbit hole, from some kind of forward leaning colleagues who introduced me to Bitcoin and crypto about 10 years ago. And I kind of went on my own journey and debated whether I wanted to go full time and work in crypto as a career. And finally, in 2019, decided to go all in. And it was kind of a market similar to where we are today, kind of a sideways, somewhat bear market. Not a very exciting time in crypto when I decided to make the plunge. People thought it was foolish to leave Google at the time, but for me, it was just something I had to do. I had to see what it would be like and how I could make an impact on crypto overall. And so, no looking back since that moment about 4 years ago.
I love it, and I can certainly relate to that story as well. I think a lot of folks can, leaving their industry, leaving their safe job, and venturing into the unknown. So, brought you to Coinbase, and more recently, you've been working on Coinbase Advanced Trade. So, do you want to give us a breakdown of how it's different from Coinbase Pro that we're also familiar with?
Yeah, so Coinbase Pro is a part really of Coinbase Exchange. So Coinbase Exchange, you can think of that as the place where we offer liquidity, and you kind of make a market between liquidity providers, market makers, and retail and institutional users who want access to that liquidity. And we have hundreds of assets and even more order books that we list those assets for trading on. And so it's a very intentional, very focused, kind of narrow experience that Coinbase Pro was built on top of. And over the years, as our retail footprint grew and we wanted to add more and more features into retail, Coinbase originally started as an app where you could simply buy and sell Bitcoin and then Ethereum and then Litecoin and then lots of other assets. It became much more about how can Coinbase help you live your financial life and offer you lots of different things like being able to save. And the product that we offer for savings is our USDC, US dollar coin rewards, that people earn monthly rewards on by just holding a USD equivalent stablecoin in their Coinbase account. And then things like staking, we offered Teso staking, and now we offer a couple different types of staking. Solana, I think, was one of the more recent stakeable assets that we launched, and you earn staking rewards based off of that. And so we were forcing people to choose whether they wanted that rich experience where they could save and stake and use their Coinbase card, which is a debit card, to spend crypto anywhere that accepts Visa, to borrow cash against their Bitcoin collateral. We have a product called Coinbase Borrow that lets you do that. So you have that one side of that experience for the everyday consumer, like me and you. And then you had a separate app, a very siloed experience for trading, on order books using limit orders and market orders and stops. And we heard from a lot of people, they wanted to be able to do both. They didn't want to have to make a decision between staking Solana or trading Solana. They just wanted one wallet to do both. They didn't want to have two views of their balances. So Coinbase Pro would have a separate view of your USD and Bitcoin and Ethereum and all your crypto balances. And then the Coinbase app would have a whole separate view. You have to transfer back and forth if you want to consolidate. And so we took that feedback and we said, okay, how can we help unify this and give people the best of everything in one place? And so with our launch of Advanced Trade, our vision there is take all the best things about Coinbase Pro for the trader and make those available in the same place where all the other great things about crypto and Coinbase are available too. And so that's kind of the journey that we've been on for the last couple of years, building and then launching Advanced Trade and seeing all of the people move over from Pro to Advanced Trade to get all of that in one place.
Absolutely. So Pro was a jump from GDAX, and Advanced Trade is now a jump from Pro. And for the first time, as you mentioned, Coinbase ecosystem users have access to an advanced trading platform, the Coinbase Vault, and asset staking all in one. And do you believe this unification is going to lead to higher user activity on the trading side?
Yeah, we definitely believe that that's the case. You mentioned Vault as well. That's another feature. It's kind of a security time lock feature that some people just love to make them feel like their crypto is stored even safer than kind of the baseline level of security that we offer. And so, yes, I think people are happy to see that that's all together in one place and they get kind of the best of both worlds in one app.
And would you highlight some of the new and unique trading tools that Coinbase Advanced Trade offers, and additionally emphasize the importance of that trading view integration that we're seeing now?
Yeah, we've made a lot of investments kind of throughout the user journey. So you think about everything from how do you understand and analyze different types of assets and markets that you can invest in? How do you then go and place those trades? How do you then manage open orders, partially filled orders? How do you then see your performance and understand if you're up or down? And so if you think about what we're able to do now with Advanced Trade, some of those features you get natively just by being inside of the Coinbase app. We have a product that we call Performance, and that's a way that you can just see, am I up or am I down, all time, last week, last month. And that's not something that we ever had in Coinbase Pro. So that's kind of at the end of the kind of the user journey. Like after I've made my trade, that's kind of the post-trade experience. Another thing that's kind of very table stakes, but again, we never had in Coinbase Pro were transaction confirmations. So now when you use Advanced Trade and your orders fill, you get an email that says, congrats, Noah, your order for 1 Bitcoin filled. And now you can see that that's done. You don't have to pull the app and just constantly check like you had to do in Pro. So that's kind of post-trade. Moving back to pre-trade, we've done a lot of investing on the charting experience. So Pro had fairly good market data. You would have an order book, a depth chart, you'd have candlesticks, and you could kind of customize those a little bit. And in Advanced Trade, we've taken that a step further. We've done a very native trading view integration. So you get all the benefits of trading view, like 100 plus indicators, several types of candles. You can annotate charts. We have the magnet functionality working now. And so it's just a much, much, much richer pre-trade experience. And then we've also tried to make the actually in-trade experience, so when you're going to place an order, even more sophisticated. So you can kind of track the bid, track the mid. You can set your order to be -1%, -5% below the bid if you're trying to, buy the dip. And in Pro, you'd have to kind of do all that stuff manually. You'd have to just like look at the chart, type in a number, hope that you got it right. There was no way to kind of automate and use some of that intelligence that we could bring to the user interface. So that's just a handful of things that we're doing across the board. We're doing a lot more, that you'll see over the next few weeks as well. One thing we also did is we made this dark mode by default. So right now, when you go to Advanced Trade, you won't have to toggle from light mode to dark mode. It's dark mode by default. That was something we heard from traders. They said, hey, we have 10 monitors in a dark room when we're trading. We don't want to have to toggle each one to dark mode. We want it just to be there by default, and then have a way to go back to light mode if we want to. So I'll pause there just to see if those resonate.
I think one of the things that made Coinbase so popular was the original app was its ease of use, and it lowered the barrier to entry for a lot of new investors. I actually started by investing through Coinbase, and I used the Coinbase Vault for a while. And I see that you guys are adding a lot of these same features to to Coinbase Advanced Trade, and I think it's going to lower the barrier to entry for people, prospective traders that might be intimidated by some of the traditional tools and traditional infrastructures, by making things more intuitive, making things more user friendly, and obviously that attention to detail is critical to retain users and increase the number of people on the platform. So really excited for that. I wanted to ask if you guys allow trading of crypto assets on margin.
Yeah, so for those who aren't familiar, margin is a concept that's existed in kind of the world of trading for a long time, where you can buy with leverage. So you can uh, take the money that you have in your account, use that as collateral, and then effectively borrow from the broker or the trading platform in order to buy a position that's greater than what you have. This has become a big part of the crypto trading landscape. It's something that we hear from traders a lot, especially some of our offshore competitors have really popularized the idea of trading and margin. This is not something that we do today. It's something that we talk a lot about. We're interested in solving this need for people, but we don't have anything specific to share about margin right now.
Sure. And do you guys have a built-in tax calculator?
So we do. We have the tax center. This is, I guess, again, another benefit that's kind of Coinbase wide. So you can find that in your account settings. It's called the tax center. We launched it a year or two ago, and it's a place where you can get all of your exports that you either then process yourself or you share with your accountant, or you can import into TurboTax. We also have a partnership with CoinTracker to make it really easy in case you're doing lots of crypto stuff in other places, and Coinbase is just a part of that picture. And so Advanced Trade now being a part of the single Coinbase app, it's now compatible with Tax Center in a way that Coinbase Pro before was not.
Mm-hmm. For anyone that's used Binance before, there's a feature that turns dust to cash. So if you're doing a lot of trades and you have residuals, small residuals of crypto assets in your balance, you can click a button and it converts all that to BNB. Coinbase does not have a native token, but I'm curious to know if Coinbase ever plans to integrate a turn dust to cash feature where they can click a button and all that dust turns into, let's say, USDC for the sake of the argument.
Yeah, it's definitely something that we've heard about, and there's some people who have been on the platform for a long time who might have like one Satoshi in their Bitcoin wallet because there was just a rounding question when they were making a trade, and one Satoshi is like a fraction of a cent, and it could be kind of an eyesore. This is not something that we've invested in. We've definitely heard the need. We don't have any plans to share about doing this, but definitely understand the specific problem that it can address. And some competitors have built some nice ways to do this. It's not something that we currently have right now, though.
And Scott, I understand that you guys have a mobile app of Coinbase Advanced Trade. Is it going to offer all the same amazing functionality that the web app will?
So, Advanced Trade is live on both web and mobile, and I would also take the opportunity to share that we have a REST API that's part of Coinbase Cloud, where you can access all of the functionality of Advanced Trade through an API if you're a developer or you want to use a third-party tool that integrates with the API. So we have a few different ways to interface with Advanced Trade. Mobile is just a unique form factor, right? It's a touch screen. It's a 5 or 6 inch screen versus a 13 or 30-inch screen. And so the challenge that we have as product managers, designers, engineers is how do we take that functionality and architect it in a way that makes sense for that mobile interface. It's not always straightforward to do that. In general, we try to be a very mobile first company. We recognize that the world has shifted to mobile a decade ago, and a lot of people are spending almost all their time in the digital world on mobile and not on desktops. And so in general, kind of that's the principle of operation is how do we do things mobile first. There is kind of an outlier though for advanced traders, is that a lot of advanced traders are kind of semi-professionals, if not professionals, who are at their desks, at their laptops with big monitors, many of them, lots of browser tabs open. They want that full screen immersive charting experience. And so we've tried to thread the needle by helping people have that experience because we know that's where they really thrive, while also helping them do things on the go on mobile, right? So say you set up a bunch of orders that you're not sure if they're going to fill or not while you're at home, and then you have to go out and do something. You have your phone with you. Now on your phone, you can manage your orders. You can cancel. You can place new orders. You can see if they filled. But we don't have that kind of same level of immersive charting by design, right? It would just be really, really difficult to pack that into a mobile interface. How do you sift through 100 indicators and make that really work well? It's very much a desktop behavior. So we're always kind of looking at different aspects of the user journey and where we really need to double down and make something work on mobile, where we take the web experience and figure out a novel way to introduce it on mobile that is much more appropriate for that kind of on the go, on the run type of experience.
Something that's pretty cool for traders if they're out to dinner or if they're going on a trip to be able to check and at least access a lot of that functionality that they otherwise might not be able to if there wasn't that integration between mobile and web. So
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying, especially in this market, I mean, we've seen, the year already, we're only in March, right? And we've seen all sorts of different market cycles. And sometimes you don't want to miss an opportunity when you're out if it's like something big is happening in the market. But other times, nothing is happening and it doesn't really matter. We just want to make sure that we're there when you need us.
And so, Scott, there's a lot of new features, a lot of old features. You guys are clearly attempting to lower the barrier to entry, not just in the crypto, but also crypto trading and trading in general. Has Coinbase created educational material for first-time traders to learn about how each unique trading indicator works, best practices, and really anything else that they might need to kickstart their trading career?
Yeah, for sure. We take education very seriously. We have a great team that produces content on this. In our help center, there's a lot of great content. It's also available in the advanced trade interface. There's some tool tips you can click and you can learn more, and you can get taken to videos and tutorials that say, here's what a limit order is, here's how it works, here's how you place it, here's what a depth chart is and why you would ever want to look at that and what you might do with it for trading. And so we really want to help people understand what they could do in advanced trading. We do this, throughout other features in the app as well. We've also partnered in the last few months. We partnered with some really strong creators on YouTube who have created their own content about advanced trade, and they kind of give you their own walkthrough of how they use the product and what they do with it. So if you search advanced trade on YouTube, you'll notice a lot of those, and it's been pretty good. I've been really impressed with a lot of the quality of that content.
Scott, what are some future features that you and your team are working on that you're excited to tell us about?
Yeah, we talked about a couple of things earlier. One of the things that we're working on is helping to bring a little bit of focus to the advanced trade experience. And so right now, the priority has been to make advanced trade accessible to everybody in the app. And one thing that we're working on is how do we actually thread that needle and make it available to people who might be interested or who are definitely interested in it, while not making it overly prominent such that people who maybe don't consider themselves advanced traders or don't want that functionality aren't too deep in it. And then taking that a step further and saying, okay, how can we modify some of the experiences in the Coinbase app such that they are that much more appropriate for the advanced trader? So if you think about things like seeing your portfolio and all the assets that you hold, advanced traders want a little bit more information density. They want a little bit more, detailed analysis and numbers. And so how do we, the question we're asking ourselves is like, how do we create that experience that is much more tailored and focused and kind of feels more at home for the advanced trader and what they're used to, as they go throughout their trading journeys. So that's definitely a big one. We're also always looking at ways we can help with the pre-trade experience. How can we bring more insights to the table? How can we make the order form and the order management process smoother? One thing we've been talking about that we hear, feedback from is sometimes you create an order, it partially fills, right? A limit order that's resting on the book, it partially fills, but then you see the market move in a different direction. Today you go and you cancel that order, you have to go create a new order. And so we've heard some feedback that says people want to be able to modify that order and maybe edit it and just adjust it so that it will then fill without having to go cancel and recreate the whole thing. And so, there's a lot of efficiencies that we're looking at helping people with. in addition to things like different types of order types, going beyond just the market limit and stop limit that we have today. Again, just so that there's that much more power that people can access with advanced trade.
Beautiful. And I missed that. I missed the question earlier about utilization of trading bots.
Yeah, we don't offer any kind of first-party bots, quote unquote. There is a really healthy ecosystem of developers that build different trading tools. Some of them call themselves trading bots. Some of them just call themselves, trading tools. And so, defining what is and isn't a bot is not something that I'm an expert on. But we've always, going back to our GDEX and Coinbase Pro roots, had a really great third-party ecosystem. There's some open source projects on GitHub that people fork of quote unquote trading bots, and then savvy trader developer combo types will figure out ways to modify it and customize it to their needs, all on top of the APIs that we offer. And again, we have this Coinbase Cloud platform where all of Coinbase's APIs are available, and there's a specific API in there for advanced trade. So I'd encourage you all to check that out. If you're kind of leaning that direction, we have a really good forum where people can ask questions and make feature requests, and our developer team is really responsive to that. And so it's kind of a challenge for the ecosystem to both integrate with the advanced trade API and to innovate on top of that API and see what kinds of bots, whether it's everything from dollar cost averaging, which is a fairly straightforward type of thing, to grid trading or some more sophisticated types of automated strategies.
And Scott, are there any other trading products Coinbase is currently developing that you're able to share with us?
What would that entail, or what would you, besides what we've talked about, what would that mean?
Yeah. I guess I can expand upon that. I suppose like tools that would plug, like add-ons, like additional features that traders can pay for, tools that might plug in to the trading platform to make things easier. Let's not say bots, but anything else. I'm not particularly an avid trader, but would love to know if there's anything that you guys had cooking up.
Got it. I guess the way I would look at it is we're investing in advanced trade by making it that much richer and more powerful by offering more of what we talked about before. So, helping people with the research phase, the order management phase, the post-trade analysis, the email confirmations that says your trades, were completed and successful. All of our energy is kind of going in that direction. Also working with that third-party ecosystem of developers that is building on top of our API. It's kind of all directed there. There's not kind of like a full separate, trading product that we're, keeping in the background and going to announce. It's all going to kind of be based inside of advanced trade and leveraging what we've already done as a foundation.
Got it. And another question I had was whether you envision high-performance trading platforms evolving over the next 5 years, particularly as AI tools continue to improve.
Yeah, AI has been phenomenal. Like watching people do some interesting stuff with GPT and GPT-4 most recently. I don't know. I haven't seen anything that's like been very trading centric, but I wouldn't be surprised if there are modeling capabilities that come out that can do some really interesting things, given just like the crazy amount of data that those systems can ingest, not just quantitative data like we look at in our UIs, but also all sorts of information about the world that's something that only like large language models can do. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's some really interesting things again that the developers offer, and they use different exchange APIs like Coinbase's and Advanced Trades APIs to do some really interesting things that leverage AI. I'd be surprised if AI is just not at all a picture longer term. So that's one thing. I think the other thing is we're seeing some really cool innovation in decentralized exchanges, just given the additional throughput that a lot of layer twos and there's even kind of an emerging trend of layer three chains offering, and then there's still a very long way to go for dexes to be able to offer the throughput and stability and kind of all the properties that um, centralized exchanges like Coinbase is, available through advanced trade offers. But I wouldn't be surprised if 5 years from now there's some real contenders out there, and it's our challenge to figure out how do we navigate that landscape at lots of different layers in the stack. How do we help make those things available to people if that's the direction that crypto is going and it's valuable for traders?
I oftentimes wonder if that gap will ever close. Right? Decentralized exchanges can get faster and better, but I always scratch my head and wonder. I mean, it seems to me that especially for high volume traders, centralized exchanges have a one up, and let's not even talk about the fiat, the crypto gateways. But it's kind of going on a tangent, and I wanted to keep things focused. I don't know if you have anything to add to that point. Just kind of going, just kind of thinking out loud here. Scott, I tried to cover all bases and also keeping things concise, but I want to know if there's anything about advanced trade I haven't asked that you believe is important to highlight.
No, you've asked some great questions, and I think we might be taking questions from the audience too. I think the one thing I'll just share is we're still in the early innings here, and we are very, very dedicated to this effort and making a great product, and have a really compelling roadmap, I think, and a really great team that's working on this. And so, thank you everyone who's using the product or who's considering using the product for joining us on this journey. And my Twitter handle is open. I'm always interested in feedback. Good, bad, ugly, everything is really great for us to hear because we definitely want to continue to make a better and better product.
Yeah, so I might have been mistaken in understanding that we weren't going to be doing audience questions for this. That might have been my fault. But if anyone wants to come up, it seems like Scott is open to me opening up the floor and taking audience questions. So if anyone wants to come up and ask Scott questions about Coinbase Advanced Trade or anything else that he's working on, you're more than welcome to. Don't be shy. And yeah. So while people queue up, Scott, a question that I had for you is, coming from Google and coming from a traditional background, what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced with the very, at the time, much more nascent crypto industry?
So, like working in Coinbase in 2019, what were the challenges?
Correct. Yeah. Leaving Google, which is I would expect to be a bit more structured to the Wild West that is this industry.
Yeah, one of the hardest things when I joined, for me, it wasn't a big question as to whether Coinbase was going to succeed or whether crypto was going to continue to exist, right? Like a lot of people that I was surrounded by questioned those two things very seriously. And so I think one of the hardest things when I joined Coinbase was recruiting. It was like trying to find other people in 2019. We were growing at the time, and we continued to grow, and even now we're hiring. But at the time, to get somebody to join a private company that didn't have a $500 billion market cap or $1 trillion market cap, and was in this kind of nascent corner of technology called crypto was hard. It was hard to find somebody who A, had the skill sets that we were looking for, and B, had the conviction. Like, you can't just tell someone that crypto is going to succeed, right? We all are here because we found our own conviction one way or another. And so in 2019, that was really hard. It got easier in 2020. I think that's when crypto started to pick up and people started to open their eyes. And similarly with, the market growing and people succeeding with, crypto investments, people were also, who were in the technology industry were also much more open to, betting their careers or investing, themselves, their time and energy into working in crypto. And, we see that not just of people who join Coinbase, but lots of Web3 and crypto startups all over the place. And so that's gotten easier. But at the time, I just remember feeling like really challenged in getting people to even like come interview, for a job at Coinbase.
I love it. Captain Levi, you have a question or a few questions for Scott, I'm assuming. Mike's yours, sir.
Yeah, I did have a few questions, although it's a very few are related to trading. But the trading question I actually wanted asking, I did not hear you guys talk about APIs from third-party apps. What's your take on trading APIs from third-party apps, and how do you guys work with those kind of applications?
Yeah, we have an open API that's part of Coinbase Cloud. Coinbase Cloud is our platform for all the APIs at Coinbase that go well beyond just what we do here for, retail advanced trading. And anybody can integrate with the API. Any user can generate an API token and key and use one of those developer products or develop against the API themselves. We have lots of, I think, very good instructions and examples for people to learn from, and would encourage you all to check it out and give us feedback.
That sounds cool. So is there like a forum or a group chat or something that's where people have their own APIs would like to, show their own products that they've integrated with or something they've built. And just in the event where someone else would love to use those APIs for those who don't really aren't experts in the field.
Yeah, I missed part of the question. I think it was about forums or group chat. We do have an API developer forum, and there's a specific forum in there for the advanced trade APIs. So hopefully that's the place that will kind of solve those questions you had.
Yeah, sounds cool. Okay, so the next questions I actually have are actually not trade related, but it's cool if I'll just like to seek your opinion on it. I saw in a very recent pin tweet that it made me understand that Coinbase is actually having integrations, is looking out to the Hollywood industry, and it's actually largely controlled by five big studios, and it's looking out for new opportunities for filmmakers and audiences that are emerging through the use of crypto and NFTs. I also understood that Julie Pacino used NFTs to fund and involve her new fans in a film, I Live Here Now. And the thread of the tweet made me understand that that NFTs are actually empowering filmmakers to create movies they want, and are enabling fans fund and participate in the movies that they want to see. What's your take on movie directors taking this pitch or this pivot towards this blockchain related integration of NFTs?
I can't claim to be an expert on either NFTs or Hollywood, so I'm not sure I have much to offer there, sadly.
Captain.
All right, that's cool. All right, that's cool. So, basically, the rest of the questions I do have are actually related to NFTs. So maybe when a team from, when someone that's more versed in NFT from the Coinbase team comes up, maybe I'll just ask them there. Thanks a lot, Noah.
Yeah, no doubt. It seems like we have a bit of a shy audience today. Scott, I was wondering if you guys are planning, and this is probably not related to advanced trade as well, so feel free to decline if you don't want to answer. But I was wondering if Coinbase had overseas aspirations. If you guys planned on setting up shop in Europe or even Asia or other parts of the globe.
So absolutely, we have offices all over the world. We have colleagues in London and Germany and Singapore, and um, we've recently, I think it was like March 8th, we published a blog post about how we're trying to go big on all six out of seven continents. No crypto in Antarctica right now, but yeah, we definitely have big aspirations. We've focused a lot on compliance in those regions, on payment methods, right, to make it really easy to onboard and on ramp, from fiat to crypto. And so, yes, international is a big focus. We have an awesome, international product team that's building some really cool stuff that we're not releasing yet, that will help international users, right, get started with crypto. In addition to local teams on the ground, right, who are helping market and work with regulators and work with local banking partners to grow what Coinbase can offer around the world.
Catch 22, welcome.
Hey Noah, thanks for letting me up, bro. What's up, Scott? How are you?
Great, how are you?
I'm all right here. I just had a few quick questions here, not to take up too much of your time, but I was wondering when you guys were going to add like more USDC pairs or whatever, since you guys work so closely with USDC. I would really love to trade ETH, USDC or BTC USDC. And then I was wondering if you guys were going to add like a sound or something when like orders were filled on advanced trade. That would have been like really cool, like Bybit or something, Wondering what you think about that.
Can you so great questions on the USDC piece, excuse me. Are you in a place where you're able to access the USD books for like BTC USD, ETH USD, or is there a different reason you're interested in a USDC pair for those assets?
I guess relatively like Tether, but I'm one of those like guys that think USDC is just like safer here, like regulated American. And I don't want to be in like dollars. I would rather just trade with USDC, just like people trade with Tether or whatever.
Yeah.
But I trade with USD. I trade the USD pairs, but it's just like something I don't want to do, if that makes sense. Like I would love to trade USDC.
Got it. So if it offered the same liquidity, right, same book depth, and track the price the same way, all things being equal, you would prefer to trade the USD equivalent of an asset than the USD version of that asset.
I guess you could say that, yeah. Well, I don't know too much about it. I'm just saying like BTC, USDC, like if they track the same price or whatever, and they weren't like sketchy like Tether or something, it would be cool.
Okay, that's good feedback. We'll take that back to the team. And then your second question was adding a sound when an order fills, like Bybit does.
Yeah, like limit orders or something like, instead of just it hits or whatever, excuse me, it hits, and you get like an email notification. I don't really pay attention to my Google. I would love to just hear a sound, on the app.
Yeah, that's really good feedback. And you'd want to hear that on mobile and on web.
Yes.
Cool. I like that idea. Let me also take that one back to the team. These are both really good inputs for us to consider.
Alrighty. Thank you. Peace out.
Thank you.
Thanks, Catch 22. Hey, Scott, I have a community member that's a bit stage shy. Wanted me to ask if Coinbase is hiring and if it's possible to get a job at Coinbase if your credentials are right.
We are hiring. It is possible to get a job. We have lots of different roles available, and the great news is a lot of these are fully remote, right? So you don't have to be in any one specific place. Coinbase.com/careers is our career site where you can see everything that's available for hire at Coinbase, and you can apply online. And I can confirm that the online applications work really well. There's a lot of people who I've interviewed over the years who some of them got hired and they didn't have any sort of inside connection or anything. They just went to Coinbase.com/careers and applied through there and succeeded. So definitely check that out if you're interested in a potential role at Coinbase.
Well, looks like not too many questions today, Scott. I would have prepared more questions for you had I known it would be this quiet or this shy in the audience. I wanted to know a little bit more about Coinbase's plans to, I guess we can't talk too much about Base, but what can you share with us about Base? Well, how about that?
Yeah, it's an L2. So for those who aren't familiar, a couple of weeks ago we announced a chain that we're working on called Base. It's still in testnet right now, and it is a layer 2 EVM compatible chain on Ethereum. We have a great leader, Jesse Pollock, who's been at Coinbase for I think 5 years, who's kind of the innovator of all this, and the team has been working really closely with a lot of developers to make sure that a lot of dApps are going to be integrated and supporting Base. And you've seen a lot of, the day that we announced this, a lot of dApps can kind of describe how excited they are and what they're doing on this. And so I think the idea is that there's a lot of really good L2s out there. Ethereum is moving in a really interesting direction. We're excited for, Shanghai around the corner, which is a big evolution. In Ethereum, we've offered Ethereum staking for almost 2 years now, to make it accessible to lots of people who have ETH and want to earn rewards on that ETH. And so there's a lot more to come on Base, but I think it's a really interesting way for us to get that much deeper into on-chain things. Like, we believe that a lot of the future of crypto will be on-chain, and believe that Base will be one of the best ways to do that. And so, stay tuned for a lot more on that front.
Another community question came in. Scott, have you guys seen a big influx of users joining the platform, especially with all the news of Silvergate and people panicking about banks looking to crypto as an alternative to store their wealth?
Given we're a public company, I can't share any kind of sort of specifics on that. I think if we zoom out from Coinbase specifically and just look at kind of what's happened in the market overall, I think we can see that there's a group of people, however large or small it might be, who truly believe that crypto is the future, even more so as a result of some of the challenges that the traditional financial system is experiencing. And so I think overall, when people look at different ways that monetary policy and money supply and central banks are doing things, and a lot of the regulatory conversation, there's that much more conviction that bubbles up about crypto being a very good thing for the future, for ourselves, for our children. And I think that's potentially catalyzed, right, by the events of the last few weeks. Hard to say for sure, right? Nobody knows with any detail, but overall, I think there's some silver linings that are maybe coming out of what we're seeing.
This is a question I ask pretty much anyone that comes on for an interview, Scott. But outside of your brilliant work with Coinbase Advanced Trade, would love to know what sectors of the industry excite you most.
I love trading. Obviously, that's what I do all the time. I've been, an avid trader, and starting in stocks a long time ago, and obviously crypto for the last 10 years. So that's one of them. I think the other one that I'm really enthused by is DeFi, borrowing and lending, and how protocolized markets, that was protocolized markets, can just do some really interesting things. And how you have features like real-time settlement, right? In the traditional finance world, settlement doesn't happen the same instant. It happens, a day or 3 days later. You have things like 24/7 markets. Traditional financial systems don't generally operate 24/7. Banks are closed on weekends. You can't transfer funds. And so I think a lot of that comes together in a lot of these protocols like Compound or Aave. And then there's a lot of other protocols that are developing on L2s. And just looking at the kind of the resilience of these, I think the first time I experienced this was in 2018, when we were kind of in a prior bear market. You were seeing not a lot of price action, right? People were not excited about the way that prices were going, but you just saw this huge undercurrent of what we now call dApps emerging. Maker and Compound and Uniswap were like the three ones that kind of came from that era. And even when there were like huge liquidation cascades where the price of ETH was falling, and CDPs and MakerDAO were getting auto liquidated, the system stayed together, like the protocol remained. And you compare that to some of the downswings we've seen in other types of financial markets, and like things did not hold together. Information did not move fast enough. Settlement did not happen fast enough. Equity got destroyed because liquidations couldn't happen in a timely and orderly fashion. And so there's just so much conviction that I've developed as a result of observing this DeFi for the last 4+ years that tells me like this is just a better way to run things. It's more transparent, it's more resilient, it's more timely. That I think we'll start to see, over time, like real amounts of capital, real businesses start to operate in this way. Similar to how in the kind of the last market cycle, we saw a lot of businesses, MicroStrategy is probably the most notable one, start to invest in Bitcoin. But if you think about a lot of us on this call, we started to invest in Bitcoin. That was kind of the first thing we did. And then, over time, we're like, okay, what else can we do? Well, there's all these smart contracts and there's decentralized, applications. And I think in the next wave, we'll probably see a lot of, large corporations start to say, okay, cool, Bitcoin was a part of my treasury already. What else can I do besides, save and store value in Bitcoin? How else can I operate my business, whether it's creditworthiness or it's capital efficiency or its yield? I think they'll start to also look at the way that DeFi can help, and it won't just be a largely kind of consumer type of behavior.
Scott, for young entrepreneurs, young believers that are not particularly newbies, but have been in the space for a while, but haven't quite figured it out yet, what are some few pieces of advice you'd give to kind of boost morale and help them get on the right path?
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing that I love is that crypto is permissionless. Like nobody needs to sign off or approve or give you a permit to deploy a smart contract on a smart computing platform, and especially on a test net, right? If you can get testnet ETH, which is basically free, and we're working on this with Base as well, you can deploy smart contracts, you can experiment with them, and unlike starting a business in the wild, or opening up a store and getting permits and approvals and everything, like anybody can do this. In Web3, you don't need to go through all those same hoops. And so I think that permissionless nature is just a fascinating property of what we're experiencing. And so for all the builders out there, right, like what problem exists in the world or even in your community that something in Web3 can help solve, that you can address. And like the startup costs, the friction are just so low relative to doing any other type of business. There's obviously a technical hurdle, right? You need to understand, solidity if you're developing an Ethereum, for example, and that's not an easy learning curve necessarily, right? But there's nobody that's stopping you from doing that. All the information's available, all the resources available. There's so many good online courses that you can take for free to do this. And so I think that's one of the reasons that we're seeing like so much innovation happen all over the world in crypto, is that anybody can participate. Nobody needs permission. And like the startup costs are really just your own time. So that's what really inspires me to convey that message to all the builders out there.
And so one last question for me before I bring up, we have one other audience member that wants to come up. One last question for me before I bring up this last audience member is if Coinbase has any plans, and maybe you guys have already explored this, to build your own launchpad or an incubator that hands out grants, or maybe apply for a banking license. Any inside info you can give us that's obviously kosher for you to share?
Yeah, we have a whole product group led by an amazing leader named Will Robinson. He runs our developer product group, and so they're the right experts to talk to on this front. They're the ones that manage all the Coinbase Cloud APIs. And they help us package and distribute the advanced trading APIs that I mentioned. But again, that's just one of many things. And so there's some really great people in that team that are always interested in different kinds of programs, and are working with different types of developers who are interested in leveraging a lot of the APIs that we're building. And so we've, I think Brian has, described some of our strategy, Brian, our founder CEO, is kind of offering picks and shovels, right? Offering a lot of the building blocks to help developers get off the ground and do really interesting things with all of our tools that are available for developers through Coinbase Cloud. And so there are, I'm not an expert on these programs, but there's a variety of programs that they have. So definitely check out Coinbase Cloud if you're a builder who's interested to get started. There's some really good stuff happening there.
Beautiful. We got Doug on the mic. Doug, do you have any questions for Scott?
What's up, Scott? I use Coinbase myself to actually do a bunch of different things like trading and getting fiat in and out and converting and everything. So I appreciate all the usability that Coinbase has. And you guys might have covered a lot of the news and stuff happening, but I see like all these reports of like possibly having an exchange overseas and stuff. Is that having something to do with like basically the banking system here and wanting to go something that's just more like maybe reliable or crypto friendly?
So yeah, we talked about international earlier. The focus that we're really working on is this 6-continent strategy, and we have a blog from I think last week where we describe that in detail. We talk about kind of going broad and going deep, right, depending on the market, figuring out what is the best way to serve users in different places. So we're 100% committed to going big internationally. We have an amazing leader. His name is Nana for our international efforts, and we have lots of people in different offices around the world who are focused on this. But other than that, there's nothing really notable that's happening aside from the stuff that we've directly announced.
I tend to try to ask questions and think about what's important from the aspect of like the user side, right? So I personally help onboard a lot of people in the Web3, like manually helping them figure everything out, how to be safe, how to do this and that, technical things. Kind of one of my skill sets in Web3 is I'm the guy that like tries to be able to communicate things to people that they can understand in like, normie language and layman's terms. And not only that, but in a way where they really grasp what's happening, right? So Coinbase to me is like something where people are often like, Doug, how do I get in and out of this? How do I get, like, if I want to switch my, ETH into fiat, how do I do it? Get it to my bank? And you seem to be one of the top platforms for that makes it easy. Is that kind of like where the direction that you want to go in, to where you can make it very easy for any person onboarding into Web3 to do all the technical things and make it so it's like less complex for them? And also you have to balance that with keeping them safe and not losing in an incorrect transaction. I actually was helping somebody do it yesterday, one of my friends, and she kept on getting a pop-up message that's saying like, hey, make sure you understand to only send Bitcoin to a Bitcoin address. And she was kind of confused by it, but I was explaining to her, like, they're just giving you warning messages of stuff that you should know. They're trying to help you understand how it works a little bit, even though, crypto can be complicated for new people. But it seems to be like that's kind of the direction that you're going, is trying to be like the user interface and make it easy for people to, transfer their money and even like get a wallet in the first place. You guys have the app, and then you have the separate like hot wallet and everything too. And you are an exchange and everything, right? But I try to tell people like and explain to them everything, but it seems like you're trying to make it easy for them. And is that the direction you're going in, is to try to like get a worldwide audience of people that make it much easier for them just to get in crypto in general?
So short answer is yes. I think you described it very well, actually. We see ourselves as helping people do everything that they're trying to do in crypto, whether it's their first transaction, buying $10 of Bitcoin, all the way through very sophisticated types of trading, like what I work on in advanced trade, all the way through very sophisticated types of Web3 usage. We have an app called Coinbase Wallet that's kind of a sister app to the Coinbase app that is a self-custodial experience where you can tap into an open browser and kind of use anything that's out there. And then there's everything in between, right? I think you touched on just the simple sending Bitcoin flow that we offer, where you can move funds around, maybe to a self-custodial wallet, maybe you're paying somebody. And, in all these avenues, there's always a balance that we're trying to strike between giving people the power to do the things that they're trying to do while making sure that they understand the gravity sometimes, because a lot of crypto is irreversible. And you've probably experienced some of that yourself, where once you send a transaction, there's no undoing, there's no going back, there's no phone number to call and customer service rep to talk to, at Bitcoin and say, hey, Bitcoin customer service, can you please undo that transaction? Like once it's done, it's done. And so that's kind of the challenge that we're really focused on is being, the first and the last place that you would do your crypto jobs with, in a way that can work.
There's a lot of projects out there, like even at ETH Denver recently that I found, and some of them that I actually work with personally, like FIO, who are like doing a thing where like they can set up a domain and like a handle for you to connect to wallets where like it'll actually restrict. And if you send, your crypto incorrectly, say you try to send Bitcoin to an Ethereum wallet, it'll actually like stop it and send it back to you. There's lots of tech coming out now for everyone's trying to, I think, do a lot of work to try to make crypto easier for people. And do you work with other companies or projects like that at all ever to try to like, or even think about that? Because there's so much innovation happening so fast. I mean, ETH Denver, there's 30,000 people, I think, that were, mostly all builders trying to solve some problem to make crypto easier and safer and more usable. Do you do everything internally, or do you work with other companies potentially in like doing something like that where you can maybe set up systems where people cannot like, or prevent them from like losing that transaction?
I think all the above, depending on the case. I think the area that we're most excited in partnering is a lot of, on-chain protocols. But we absolutely, work with other vendors or partners in other contexts as well.
I think this is such an important topic, Scott, and I'm so glad that you're here with Altcoin Talk. This is one of my favorite spaces. But I would totally like to talk to you more in the future about this stuff because I'm on the ground talking to people at the conferences, helping onboard people, and doing my own show and all this other stuff and work with all kinds of games and all the different situations where you're onboarding so many different kinds of people because they have different interests in Web3. And I think we've done a much better job currently. There's in the projects I'm in, there's much less people that are having issues and much less people getting scammed, because we've realized how important it is. And also, I think the people that are left here in crypto that have kind of maybe like a lot of people have maybe left because they weren't making big gains anymore. The people left here like really care. They want people to be super safe, to concentrate on that. So, even when I go through these processes and someone's like, Doug, how do I do this and do that? I'm literally just honestly telling them like, hey, this is what I do. I use Coinbase as part of my process as of right now. And it makes it easy. And a lot of other people I found have done that. That's where they purchase a lot of their crypto. And then they might send it to a different wallet. They might use your hot wallet that you mentioned, your custody wallet. And so I think it's a great opportunity that you have with your company to even push that further, make it easier for people to do things, because the number one thing about Web3 is that the more usable it is, the more easy it is for people to like accept it as something that they like to do, and can rely on it, the better. Not only that, because you're like an exchange, like having an exchange do things the right way, have a good reputation can help a lot for the space, right? Like just for Web3 in general, like in the press, the news, whatever, we can point to this even internally here where we hang out on Twitter and say, like, look at what these guys are doing. This is pretty cool. And, because we really need to have that Web2 adoption happen in a way that we can also agree with too, because we do care about things like owning your own wallet, owning your own keys to your crypto, having control over your identity, all that stuff. Are those things that are super important to you guys too at Coinbase, of trying to like align with kind of like what the Web3 ethos of like owning your own identity?
There's a lot there. I think, yes, identity is very important to us. One of the things we've done with Coinbase Wallet is offered people their own Web3 based identity, that you can check out. So I think the short answer is yes. Unfortunately, guys, I'm at time. I know we've gone for an hour and I'm back-to-back meetings today. But Doug, thank you for all that context and those questions.
Yeah, and thank you
Thank
real
you.
quick just for the access of being, sorry, no. I just want to say thank you for being here. Having access to people like you is so important because we're the people out here like me, Noah, everyone, helping people, talking to them, and this is part of the amazing things of Web3. So thank you.
You bet.
Yeah. Thanks for your time, Scott. Really appreciate you coming on and teaching us more about Coinbase Advanced Trade and also giving us insights into your journey and the future of the market as it pertains to what you believe is going to happen. I think a lot of us share the same philosophy that you do with respect to the ethos of this industry and what it means to not just each individual, but the future of finance and beyond. So if you have any closing thoughts for the audience, if you go ahead and share them now. Otherwise, it's been a pleasure, Scott.
I would just say, I love being on this journey with everybody. It's just awesome. It's inspiring to see so much energy in the spaces. Really appreciate you, Noah, for having me and introducing me to this community. And this is what keeps me bullish on crypto, is just seeing so much energy and positivity and support for what we're doing at Coinbase and beyond. And so, again, if you guys have any feedback about what we're doing at Coinbase, specifically on advanced trade, but even overall, please do share. We're definitely interested. We have lots of great people who are very committed to building great experiences for all of you guys.
Cheers, Scott. Best of luck. Whale Coin Talk community, you're listening to another episode of The Aquarium. Today we had Scott Shapiro of Coinbase Advanced Trade on. Remember that everything that you hear on these broadcasts is meant for educational purposes only.